I became the vicious female supporting character in a novel, but am too lazy to be vicious. Slapping the female lead every day, doesn't my hand hurt? Shopping for clothes every day, occasionally visiting the family company, and going for manicures and beauty treatments every week, isn't that nice? Who would have thought that after a month of slacking off, the male lead would come looking for me? He cornered me against the wall, his peach blossom eyes fixed on me. Bijou, why aren't you jealous anymore? 01. I turned into a green tea bitch from a book. Very green tea, I would sweetly ask the male lead. Brother, there are so many people around, sister, can you come keep me company? In this book, the green tea female characters appear pure and lovely on the surface, but are extremely malicious behind the scenes, either framing the female protagonist or secretly seeking revenge on her. After everything was exposed by the female protagonist. When the male protagonist completely abandoned the green tea girl, I arrived. Goodness. I don't even need to fight anymore. So I started living a completely carefree life. After the dirty deeds of the green tea girl were exposed, her parents punished her by confining her to her room for a month. I arrived after she had been confined for a week, because the green tea girl, resentful of the female protagonist, wanted to use suicide to try to win back the male protagonist one last time, but he didn't come, and she overacted. After I arrived, I was very satisfied with this confined life. It was simply too comfortable. Every day I waited for the butler to bring me meals, and in my free time, I read novels, played games, or at the very least, tried on all of the green tea girl's clothes. 3 days later, the green tea girl's parents sensed something was off. Why wasn't their daughter crying, making a fuss, and jumping around anymore? The bi couple was very worried and came to my door to ask me, Juicy, are you okay? I was playing a game when I heard 2 people talking, and I was startled. I quickly turned off the computer sound and mimicked the tone of green tea from before, saying, Mom and Dad. I'm fine. You don't need to worry. I touched my chest and said, sadly. This startled green tea's parents, who quickly opened the door and came in to see me. Fortunately, I had acted well, turning off the computer early and hiding under the covers, pretending to be very depressed. Seeing me like this, White Mother started crying again. It's Mom who is sorry for Juicy. Juicy did something wrong. It's my poor teaching. White Father patted White Mother's shoulder and lowered his head heavily. These days, it wasn't just me who was grounded, they were also suffering. In just over a week, they had aged quite a bit. I felt a bit guilty, slowly sitting up and saying gloomily, Mom and Dad, I know I was wrong. White Mother paused, looking at me in disbelief, with traces of tears still on her face. I opened my eyes and spoke nonsense. Juicy knows she was wrong. I have reflected a lot these days, and I have realized that I will no longer cling to him in the future. Are you serious? Bai's mother looked at me eagerly. I looked her in the eye and slowly nodded. Bai's parents were overjoyed. It was obvious who he was, and it was a good thing that their daughter no longer clung to him. Bai's mother cried with joy again, and Bai's father was also quite emotional. In his excitement, he took out all the bank cards from his pocket. Good daughter, Dad was wrong too. You deserve it, sweetheart. Go out and shop for a while. Is there such a good thing? 02. I finally accepted the card, and the Bai family parents left happily. We all have a bright future. However, as soon as I received the card, I went out shopping, which inevitably made it seem like my remorse was not very sincere. I had no choice but to sadly emo in my room for 2 days. On the day of shopping, I didn't dress up at all, not even putting on makeup. Mother Bai gently touched my head and said, Sweetheart, your skin has gotten worse these days. Look at your hair, it has no shine, and your nails. I quickly pulled my hand back, otherwise, Mother Bai would feel sorry for my entire body. Father Bai chimed in, Sweetheart, when you go out to play today, you need to take good care of your hair and nails. And clothes, buy more clothes, you don't have enough to wear. I thought of my entire wardrobe and fell into silence for a moment. Mother Bai patted me and said, Good child, go out and have fun today. You can come back a little later. I obediently agreed, and under their worried gazes, I walked out of the house. After entering the garage and touching my sports car, I cheered inside. Woo! Take off. I first went to the largest shopping mall in the city. I didn't go to pick clothes or get a manicure, I chose to eat a pancake first. I've been watching food broadcasts at home these days, and it's making me crave food. After parking the car in the mall's parking lot, I changed into slippers and came out, mainly because high heels are not good for driving, and wearing them while shopping is too tiring. Not far from the mall is a hospital, where some small vendors are parked at the entrance, and one of them selling pancakes has a fragrant aroma. I walked to the pancake stall and ordered a pancake, then sat down among a group of patients, staring blankly at the sky. I didn't bring my Bluetooth headphones, so it's inconvenient to watch videos. At that moment, I felt someone pointing at me, along with a sharp female voice. Oh, who is this? Isn't this Baiju? Did she frame her sister and then have a mental breakdown, ending up in a psychiatric hospital? I turned my head in a daze, and Song Yufan and Song Yuchen came into my view, standing next to the female lead and the third female character. The pair of deep-set eyes that met mine belonged to the male lead, Lumini. 03. Song Yuchen is a typical person with a few screws loose. Her sister is about to take the throne, and there she is, with the identity of a sister-in-law and the heart of the mistress. I scoffed as I watched her arm nearly glued to Lumini. My pancake isn't ready yet, so it's just the right time to tease her. Song Yuchen, did you put honey on your little mouth? Have you been taking glycerin, as if it were hyaluronic acid lately? I crossed my arms and smiled slightly as I looked at her. Also, you two sisters are surrounding a man, are you imitating a Huang and Nuying? Upon hearing this, Song Yufan quickly glanced at Song Yuchen, who hurriedly pulled her arm away a bit. Song Yuchen is a bit slow-witted. My scolding flustered her, and she was thinking about how to argue back. Lumini raised an eyebrow, his gaze somewhat playful and inquisitive, assessing me from a distance. I didn't do anything fancy with my appearance today, but after all, the villainess used to be a model, so even wearing a burlap sack looks good on her. Right now, I haven't put on any makeup, and my bare face looks even better in the sunlight. Compared to the deliberately refined look I had when I came here before, I now have a more relaxed vibe, which is actually more eye-catching than before. My true self looks similar to the villainess, so I naturally know that I am quite beautiful. I raised my chin and stared at him, arrogantly raising an eyebrow. What about it? Lumini was slightly taken aback. The corners of his lips curled up as he chuckled softly. I turned my head away from him and ignored the three people in that complicated relationship. After the shopkeeper wrapped up my pancake, I swaggered out. Song Yufan noticed the interaction between the two of us just now, and at this moment, she suddenly felt uncertain. Watching me walk away, she bit her lip and looked up at Lumini. Mini, our event. Lumini glanced at her sideways, looking at her with a half-smile. Song Yufan inexplicably felt a chill rise from the bottom of her heart. Miss Song, we are just business partners. This statement is profound. Song Yufan's face turned pale for a moment, and she couldn't help but look at Song Yuchen. Song Yuchen didn't notice anything, she just felt a bit guilty about the awkward atmosphere. Brother Lu won't blame her for coming over without permission, right? Lumini was too lazy to talk to the two sisters, who each had their own agendas, and walked straight ahead with his hands in his pockets. Initially, I thought participating in this event was quite boring, but now seeing her, Lumini chuckled softly. It doesn't seem so boring after all. 04. I only understood why I could encounter the three of them after entering the mall. Wow, today is the book signing event for the female lead, Song Yufan. Song Yufan is an online writer and internet celebrity. To put it bluntly, her works are actually marketed and hyped up, using her somewhat forced entry into the socialite circle, and her fairly decent looks for promotion. She is quite clever, having caught a good opportunity. During her rise to fame, she signed a contract with the MCN under Lumini, and today Lumini is accompanying her at a signing event in the mall. Is this a signing event? I see the posters of her all around. I'm puzzled, isn't this just an internet celebrity doing a promotional tour? It turns out she is using the label of a talented woman to gain traffic. I don't want to think about them anymore, so I casually walk into a nail salon to get my nails done. After choosing the style, I lazily lean back in the chair, spreading my hands out for the lady in front of me, while resting my shoulders with the lady behind me. It's really comfortable. Although my family background was also decent in my previous life, I never enjoyed this kind of treatment. Thinking this way, I inevitably feel a bit drowsy. The staff, seeing me dozing off yet trying hard to stay awake, cover their mouths and laugh. It seems that a writer is coming for a book signing today. The girl in front of me gossiped with me. I was too lazy to talk, but ignoring her seemed a bit rude. Really? Ha ha. I chuckled awkwardly a few times. Little did I know, the girl in front of me thought I was interested and started to talk freely. It seems to be Song Yufan. And Lumini is with her. Lumini. The girl behind me became interested. Who is that? Sounds familiar. He is the heir of the Lu Group. My boyfriend works at the branch company. The girl in front said this with a hint of pride on her face. So are they in a relationship? In a relationship? I scoffed contemptuously. The main reason I dislike Song Yufan is that she is just a mistress. The news of the original owner's engagement to Lumini is not only well known throughout the city, but the entire upper class is also fully aware of it. She usually presents herself as a socialite. How dare she approach Lumini and flirt with him after the engagement? Even if the original owner maliciously framed her, it cannot be said that Song Yufan is blameless as a mistress. As for Lumini, he is not a good person either. The girls around me were still chatting away, but I had lost interest. After finishing the last step of the manicure, I quickly pulled my hand back and took out my phone to make the payment. The girl behind me doing my nails still wanted to sell something else. I glanced back at her and said, "Since you are a service staff, you should learn to read the customer's mood." Ignoring the girl's worsening expression, I stepped forward and pushed the door open. 05. My originally good mood was interrupted by those few people, and I lost interest in shopping, casually entering a few stores to pick out some clothes before leaving. As I was packing the clothes, I heard the noise outside the door. Oh no. I thought to myself that this was not good. When I stepped outside, I found that the number of people in the mall had indeed increased. Song Yufan stood at the center of the crowd, smiling and signing for readers, while Lumini stood beside her. Although he was just an accessory, his outstanding temperament and appearance still attracted a lot of attention. I facepalmed, wishing I had left earlier. I really don't want to see those three again. SA saw my difficulty and thought it was because I had too many bags, so she offered to help me put them in the trunk. I nodded in agreement, handed her the car keys, and then prepared to take a different route. The sales assistant pointed me away, saying there was an exit near the restroom. Although it was a bit far from the parking lot, it would help me avoid the crowd and their line of sight. I thought it was feasible, so I parted ways with the sales assistant and exited. The signing event had clearly started. Besides the dedicated fans who came specifically, there were many bystanders just joining in for the excitement. Everyone was taking pictures of the main characters with their phones. I raised my hand to cover my face to avoid being photographed, struggling to navigate through the crowd flowing against me. But the thing I didn't want to see happened anyway. A passerby was taken aback upon seeing me, then exclaimed with surprise, "Aren't you that model, Baiju? What are you doing here?" He is obviously a gossip lover, and upon a second thought, he linked me with Lumini. "Are you here to see your fiancé?" As soon as these words were spoken, everyone around turned to look at me. Fiancé? Fiancé? The male lead is with another woman. Cameras turned towards me, and Lumini noticed the commotion on my side, quickly walking over with the bodyguards he had prepared for the event. Please make way. He parted the crowd, using his arms to create a safe little space for me, protecting me as I moved forward. Please do not disturb my fiancé. Amidst the noisy crowd, I heard his calm and magnetic voice ringing in my ear. 06. Lumini's polite words were clearly not as intimidating as the burly bodyguard in black standing beside us. The crowd gradually understood and began to disperse as they saw Lumini's indifferent demeanor. I walked to the back door and pushed his arm, wanting to pull away. But Lumini cornered me against the wall. I was taken aback, looking around, only to realize that the crowd had completely dispersed, and the man in black had also disappeared without me noticing. I rolled my eyes and said, "What do you want?" Lumini pretended not to understand and innocently said, "I helped my fiancé, doesn't she thank me?" "Thank you." I really wanted to peel off his skin to see how he could be so thick-skinned. I sarcastically said, "Thanks Q." Lumini didn't know the internet slang, and just wondered why my accent had become so poor. But it didn't matter. He had a look of indulgence. With a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, "You're welcome." I was speechless. I bent down again, preparing to turn away from his embrace, but he lowered his arm and blocked my way once more. Perhaps my expression was too fierce. The smile in his eyes grew even wider. "The paparazzi just got the news. If you go out alone now, they'll think our relationship has broken down, and this afternoon, the shares of my company and yours might drop." I originally scoffed at this, but when I heard about the shares, I paused. No, I can't do that. I can't go against money. I silently slipped back in, turning my head to avoid looking at his smug smile. Lumini asked, "Baiju, why aren't you jealous this time?" "Jealous?" I glared angrily. "Are you sick? Do you need a few women to revolve around you to be happy?" I raised my voice and shouted at him. He was momentarily stunned, blinked his eyes, and then explained. "That's not what I meant." "Not what you meant?" "Heh. Trust a man, dig wild vegetables." I snorted coldly, pushed his hand away, and sat down on the chair beside me. He followed me and sat down next to me, originally wanting to slowly inch closer, but when I glared at him, he stopped. "How much longer until they leave?" I asked him irritably. He was unusually good-tempered at that moment. "My assistant has already arrived. It will be fine in half an hour." Half an hour. I endure. At that moment, the two sat in silence, and after a while, Lumini's stomach growled. He turned to me and said, "Fiancé, I'm hungry." I was filled with confusion. "What does your hunger have to do with me? Am I supposed to feed you like a baby?" Lumini continued to himself, "I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten since yesterday afternoon. I need to have my assistant buy me some food." "How long do I have to wait for you to get food?" I was visibly impatient. Took out an uneaten pancake from my luxury bag, and handed it to him, saying, "Here." Lumini felt a long-lost sense of surprise. His fiancée was like a doorman. "Enjoy it," I said thoughtfully. Originally, it was prepared for the stray dog on the roadside. I saw him elegantly open his mouth and bite into the cold pancake. Now, I'll just let this dog man eat it. 07. Lumini didn't linger anymore and quietly finished the pancake. I was anxious, as Bai's mother sent me a message asking me to come home for dinner, RRR. The food at the Bai family is quite delicious, and I didn't want to miss it, so I had to ask him again, "Why is it still not ready?" Lumini pretended to check his phone, then helplessly said to me, "It seems the assistant can't persuade them to leave." I clenched my fists, feeling a sense of powerlessness. "What do I have to do to leave?" Lumini replied seriously. "We need to let them know that our relationship is quite good." "Not bad." I want to sneer. "Now that the villainess is gone, do you still want to maintain a good relationship with your fiancé?" But I couldn't be bothered to deal with him anymore, So I spread my hand in front of him and said, "Give me the lipstick." Lipstick? Lumini was really a bit confused. He didn't have any. I obviously knew he didn't have any. I was just looking for trouble. I rolled my eyes at him sarcastically, and Lumini obediently sent a text to the bodyguard. "I'll buy it for you now." A straight man buying me lipstick. I sat down, ready to watch the show, planning to scold him when I see the right shade later. Little did I know, the bodyguard brought over a gift box. Goodness. This must have dozens of lipsticks. I was left speechless. I took the gift box and casually picked out a lipstick that was similar in color to mine, handing it to him. "Here." Lumini understood, somewhat clumsily twisting open the lipstick tube and applying a bit on himself. Not to mention, his lip shape is perfect at this moment. Applying lipstick does not make him look feminine, but rather adds a touch of handsomeness. Seeing me turn my face away, Lumini raised an eyebrow and chuckled, a mischievous glint in his eyes. In front of me, he carefully placed the lipstick into his chest pocket, and then said to me softly, "Fiancé, we can leave now." 08. Lumini sent me into the car, in front of a group of paparazzi, and just left. I didn't want to think about the smug smile he had when he left, so I had to quicken my pace to get home. Both Bai's mother and father were waiting for me in the dining room. When they saw me return, they called the servant to heat up the dishes and bring them out. I went upstairs to change my clothes, and when I came down, I noticed the hesitant expressions on Bai's parents' faces. I understood in my heart. The servant pulled out a chair for me. I sat down and took a sip of soup first. It was very delicious, and then I spoke. "Dad, Mom, is there something you want to talk to me about?" Seeing my calm expression, Bai's parents breathed a sigh of relief. Bai's mother gently said, "We were worried you might be in a bad mood. So we didn't take the initiative to say anything." "Were you with Mini this morning?" Bai's mother asked cautiously. I knew it. Since I left home, I felt a vague gaze watching me, probably sent by Bai's parents, because they were afraid I might get upset and entangle with Lumini again. However, even if they didn't send someone to follow me, they would know when the paparazzi's report comes out in the afternoon. But I picked up some food with my chopsticks and said, "He came to find me on his own." Bai's father and mother exchanged glances, and Bai's mother tentatively asked, "Juicy, what are your thoughts?" I was waiting for this question. I put down my chopsticks and said seriously, "I want to cancel the engagement with him." Bai's mother was surprised and opened her mouth, not knowing how to respond for a moment. The daughter loved playing with Lumini since she was little, and the marriage between the two families seemed natural as they grew up. However, they didn't expect that during the years when the couple went abroad to manage the company, their daughter developed a twisted character and resorted to any means for Lumini, and now she wants to break off the engagement with him. Bai's father asked me, "Juicy, why do you think this way?" I take it for granted. He doesn't like me, and I don't want to like him now. It's also a good thing. Mr. and Mrs. Bai exchanged glances, and after a moment of thought, Mrs. Bai said, "Mom supports your decision." I blinked, not expecting Mrs. Bai to be so decisive. "It's just that our family has a good relationship with the Liu family. My idea is to hold a gathering, invite the Liu family and friends from both families, and privately cancel the engagement without involving the media. I was thinking the same. If we cancel publicly, the public's disturbance to me might be even greater." I smiled slightly and said, "This is great, thank you, Mom." 09. Mrs. Bai finally decided to hold the banquet at a picturesque castle in Europe. Holding it domestically would inevitably attract media attention. Holding the event abroad not only protects the privacy of the Bai family, but also provides me with an opportunity to travel abroad for some relaxation. Bai's mother laid out the benefits one by one in front of me, while observing my expression. As if she would surrender and cancel the engagement the moment she saw me sad. I smiled and told her that I was very satisfied with her arrangements. However, The only downside is that Bai's father has matters to attend to in the country that day and cannot attend the banquet. At the airport, I comforted Bai's father, saying, "It's okay, it's just a cancellation of the engagement." I smiled slyly and said, "You must come when I get engaged again." These words made Bai's father beam with joy. On the Liu family's side, Bai's mother has also notified them accordingly. Lumini did not give a definite answer to this since the Liu family is now under his control. His parents do not dare to refuse or agree on their own. I shrugged nonchalantly and said, "Cancelling an engagement is not the same as a divorce. Why do we need his answer?" Mother Bai agreed with this. This is easy to say, but when Lumini really did not show up for a long time, Mother Bai still panicked. Before heading to the banquet, I changed into my gown with her in the reserved hotel suite, while the designer recommended matching necklaces for me. Mother Bai sat on the sofa. She was also a well-known figure in the business world, usually calm and composed, but when it came to her daughter's matters, she would still feel worried and anxious. What if Mini really doesn't come? Mother Bai became a bit anxious. She feared that if the male lead of the banquet did not come, it would ruin her daughter's reputation. How would people in this circle view Juzi then? Thinking of this, she felt anger towards Lumini for the first time. Does this child really not cherish or respect her daughter at all? I waved my hand. The stylist was adjusting my hairstyle, and I could only keep my head still. "Don't worry about it, Mom. If he doesn't come, so be it." Sigh. Even so, Bai's mother still hoped that Lumini would come. At the very least, it could give her daughter's relationship a sense of closure. Having finished my look, I smiled sweetly and said, "Let's go, Mom. It doesn't matter, if he doesn't come. I was going to abandon him anyway." But Bai's mother sighed and forced a smile, saying, "Well, my daughter has indeed grown up." I smiled with my eyes curved and linked arms with her as we got into the elevator together. It was already 3 in the afternoon, but the hotel lobby was brightly lit, bustling with people of various ethnicities coming and going. I walked along, holding up my skirt, receiving compliments from passers-by. "You are very beautiful." An elderly man with silver hair, holding a cello, threw flowers at me. I was surprised to receive them and broke into a smile. The doorman opened the door for me and Mother Bai, but there were 2 Bentleys parked at the entrance. "I have some doubts, Mom. Are we going to walk separately?" White's mother was equally puzzled. She shook her head, but saw that 2 cars had both let people out. One was the driver of the Bai family. The other was Lumini. His outfit matched the color of my dress, a well-tailored silver gray suit that, even with a coat on, couldn't hide his tall figure and slim waist. His hair was obviously styled, with a few strands combed back, revealing his delicate and handsome features. The city street lights couldn't diminish the stunning impression he gave. He smiled at me, his eyes sparkling. "Fiancé," he said with surprise, walking closer to me and casually presenting the bouquet he had hidden behind him, his tone unconsciously tinged with grievance as he looked at me. "I've been waiting for you for a long time." "Me?" I scoffed and pointed at myself. He nodded confidently, like a boyfriend who had been waiting for his girlfriend for a long time and was feeling resentful. As if he didn't understand what kind of occasion this was. As we locked eyes, the smile in my eyes gradually faded away. "Lumini." I stared directly into his eyes. "What are you trying to pull on me?" 10. Snow gradually began to fall outside the car window. I sat on the left side of the back seat of the Bentley, and he sat on the right. I didn't want to look at him, so I kept turning my head to the left to look at the scenery. Unfortunately, Lumini had a thick skin. Seeing that I was deliberately ignoring him, he took the initiative to ask, "Baiju, why aren't you looking at me?" So direct. I didn't expect him to be so straightforward, and for a moment I was at a loss for words. After a while, I retorted, "Mr. Liu, it's really ridiculous. Do you only feel satisfied when a woman is watching you?" He raised the corners of his lips and said, "I don't want other women to watch me. I only want my fiancé to watch me." Heh. Still a fiancé? Just wait, I'll kick you out of the house. I thought resentfully. Fiancé. I pretended not to understand as I looked at him, sarcastically curling my lips. Isn't Mr. Liu dating Song Yufan? He was slightly taken aback, his gaze deepening. Who told you that I'm dating her? I smiled brightly. Who doesn't know? Then why are you accompanying her to the signing event? After hearing my words, Lumini couldn't help but laugh. He said gently, that's just work. I pressed on. Do you have to bring her sister to work? Song Yu-chen was an accident. He looked at me seriously. The reason I attended her signing event that day was because she had signed a contract with the MCN under my name, so she counts as my employee. The only reason I appeared with her was that I invited the media that day, to gain more exposure. As for Song Yu-chen, I'm not familiar with her. She came on her own. Came on her own and clung to your arm. I mocked. Lumini's smile deepened. That was indeed my oversight. The moment she clung to me, I was looking at you and didn't notice her, nor could I shake her off in time. He sincerely apologized. I will be more careful in the future and won't let this happen again. He suddenly shifted the topic to the future, catching me off guard. I looked at him warily and said, what does it have to do with me if you are involved with other women? Lumini said confidently, why is it none of your business? You are my fiancé. I smiled instead of getting angry. Do you want to see what you are saying? I pointed to the ground, us. Right now, we are on our way to the banquet to cancel the engagement. What if I don't want to cancel the engagement with you? He looked straight at me, and I was stunned, falling into his deep eyes that were like a deep pool. Baizhu. He chuckled lightly. Baizhu is already dead, right? What is in front of me now is you. He said word by word. I don't want to cancel the engagement either, you do. 11. I froze. I didn't expect him to be the first one to discover that this body had been swapped. When did you find out? I stared at him. He still had that gentle demeanor at first glance. He said softly, the first time I saw you. Lumini hates Baizhu. From the first time he saw Baizhu as a child. From stepping on the ants he was observing, but pretending to cry in front of adults to force him to play dolls with her, to pretending in front of Lu's mother when they grew up, and successfully forcing an engagement while he was still weak. Although he did not attend the engagement ceremony, he was bound to her from that moment on. This woman is selfish, self-serving, jealous, and indifferent. She clings to him with what she believes to be deep affection, and is determined to eliminate all females around him by any means necessary. When she illegally took Song Yufan away, Lumini successfully saved the woman who was hurt because of him for the first time. Song Yufan came to find him to sign a contract, but was kidnapped by Baizhu to a warehouse in the deep mountains when he arrived. She was even barely clothed. He felt heavy-hearted and could only drape his suit over her. He knew it was Baizhu's doing, but he had no evidence in hand. Song Yufan clung to Lumini's leg, crying about her experiences, but when Lumini offered her financial compensation, she refused. She wiped the tears from her eyes and asked him with a choked voice, have you always been coerced by her like this? Lumini was stunned. Song Yufan took his hand and said with a pained expression, you can't keep backing down like this. I will help you. He wanted to laugh at that time. Was it when he couldn't understand people? This woman in front of him was also a replica of Baizhu. Her tears couldn't hide the ambition and greed in her eyes. But in the end, he still nodded slightly. On that day, he signed a contract with Song Yufan. He helped Song Yufan achieve her career, and Song Yufan helped him get rid of Baizhu. As for what the career included, Lumini was clear as a mirror. It was money, power, fame, the admiration of the masses, and himself. But what harm was there in letting the two of them fight each other while he watched from the sidelines, ultimately benefiting as a fisherman? He was also such a cold and heartless person. However, when he saw her, he felt a sense of shame for the first time. The white bamboo is dead. It was he who caused her death. She is the new white bamboo. Confident and flamboyant. She looks at him like a rose basking in the sunlight, proudly blooming. In that moment, love grew wildly under the sunlight. How beautiful is the rose! The vine, buried deep in the soil and nearly rotting, does not know. But on that day, he found the answer in his heart. White bamboo, or perhaps you have another name. Lumini looked at me, and the emotions swirling in his eyes surprised me. I know of your arrival in this world. You are the only uncontrollable factor in my life now. I don't know who you are, where you come from, or even when you will leave. He said softly, his fingers gently curling around my hair. I felt his breath, softly entwining me like a vine, without pressure, only a faint sense of closeness and attachment. I can only seize you while I can. He is that kind of person. When he sees her, he is determined to pursue her. Even if one day she disappears, even if she doesn't want him. He still wants to show her his true heart. At least in the long nights that follow, he hopes he won't regret thinking of her. He looked up at me, as if pleading. Let's not cancel the engagement, okay? 12. No. Of course not. Even though I almost fell into his trap, I still said this decisively. Are you kidding? Am I the kind of person who can change my mind just because he says a few sweet words? Lumini looked troubled, his handsome brows furrowing. Why? Why do you have to break off the engagement with me? I want to regain my freedom. I spoke passionately. If you are with me, I will also give you freedom. He smiled with his eyes curved. I was speechless, and then I suddenly remembered. I don't like you at all, so why can't I break off the engagement with you? He was already prepared. I will make you like me. I scoffed. How do you know I will like you? Tell me, what benefits do I have by being with you? Lumini looked at me, and I suddenly felt something was off. The assistant in front handed him a tablet, and he opened a document to show me. These are all the properties under my name, and I will give them to you free of charge and voluntarily. I was stunned by his words, and I blankly took the tablet he handed me, flipping through the pages one by one. In my previous life, I also managed the family business, and had some understanding of contracts in this area. I could tell that this was indeed legal and valid. I don't need it. I handed the tablet to him. I don't need your property. I looked at him steadily and said word by word. He already knew I would say this. He said gently, it doesn't matter whether you need it or not, I just want to prove my actions to you. I was completely at a loss. He is a stubborn person and someone who puts in his utmost effort in everything. Whether it's getting rid of Baiju or pursuing me. I have never considered myself as an extension of Baiju, so there is no hatred towards Lumini. My previous retorts were simply because I felt he enjoyed being surrounded by women. Since he has already explained it to me, then. I leaned my head back against the seat and said, whatever. Lumini was taken aback, his eyes showing some surprise. Can I pursue you? I did not respond either way. What else could I do? Could I still stop him? However, pursuing is his business, agreeing is mine. I curled the corners of my lips. The ancient castle gradually came into view, and I sat up to start fixing my makeup. Just as I was about to take out my lipstick from the handbag I brought, Lumini stopped me. What are you doing? I asked, confused. He took out the lipstick I had given him that day from his chest pocket, which happened to be a similar shade to today's. Why don't you use this? He looked at me expectantly. I refused. I won't use it, you've already used this one. He said sadly, this is new, I know you wouldn't like to use one I've used. Why does that sound a bit strange? Do you really not like it? He sounded very disappointed, and his lonely tone made me hesitate a bit. Not really, I blurted out. His eyes sparkled again, and I awkwardly picked up the lipstick he handed me to touch up my makeup. Just as I was finishing my makeup, he spoke again, aren't you cold? Huh? I looked down and saw that the silver-grey sequined haute couture dress had a revealing design at the waist, with two silver chains intertwined, adding a touch of seductive allure. I saw his face filled with curiosity, and realized that this straight guy really didn't understand. I shot him a glance and proudly said, "You don't get it, as long as it looks good." His smile grew wider, and even the corners of his eyes and brows lit up as he cooperatively praised me. "My fiancé is right, my fiancé is the most beautiful in the world." This guy. If he hadn't been so supportive, I would have been fine, but with his support, I actually felt shy. Feeling the temperature in the car rising, I awkwardly turned my head to look at the snow outside. Only my earlobes, burned by his gaze, couldn't help but turn redder. When it was time to get out of the car, I embarrassingly sneezed. I rubbed my nose, feeling a bit awkward. He sighed and took off his silver grey coat, draping it over my mink. How should I put it? It doesn't clash with the silver gown in my mink, and it doesn't seem that bad. He helped me let my hair down, and the golden strands brushed against his palm. He lowered his head to meet my gaze and said in a half-teasing tone, "Wear this, and take it off once we go inside. You look beautiful like this." Golden-haired beauty. 13. I entered the castle venue under the gaze of the crowd, where the atmosphere was filled with elegance and lively chatter. Seeing me walk in with Lumini, Baimu quickly approached my side. "Why are you so late?" Baimu asked me softly. I didn't know how to respond. Should I say that Lumini deliberately slowed down to confess to me? Seeing my hesitation, Baimu didn't ask further, but looked at Lumini, who was closely following me, and frowned. "Did he say something to you on the way?" I mumbled a vague, "mmhmm." Baimu noticed that this guy behind me was like a dog that had just eaten meat, full of energy, as if he wanted to wag his tail all the way to the sky. "So, are we still cancelling the engagement?" Baimu asked. Baimu thought it was still possible after all. When she sent out the invitations, she only mentioned a welcome banquet, without specifying the details. Now, it could just be seen as the engaged couple meeting. And no one would find it strange. I moved my lips, ready to say to cancel, when Lumini leaned in and interrupted, "Aunt, I want to cancel first." Baimu and I both looked at him in surprise. Today, Lumini keeps appearing one after another, and I'm a bit unsure of what he really thinks. Seeing me so shocked, Lumini raised the corner of his mouth and said, "Doesn't the fiancé want to cancel?" How could that be? I turned my head to the side, my face returning to a calm expression. Mrs. Bai looked at me, then at Lumini, and finally sighed. "Forget it, you can do whatever you want." She waved her hand and went over to her old friend. Over here, Song Yufan looked at the matching couple in the hall, and couldn't help but dig her nails into her flesh. Chen Fan followed his parents, who were invited over, and saw Song Yufan's pale face, thinking she was unwell. "What's wrong, Yufan?" he asked with concern. Song Yufan forced a smile. Looking at his approaching face, trying hard to suppress the disgust in her heart. With her identity, she would not have the qualification to come here. It is solely because she is Chen Fan's girlfriend that she is able to enter. She recalled the book signing event that was disrupted by Baizhu, and her hatred grew even stronger. Why? Isn't she dead? She clearly sent a message to Baizhu that day. With Baizhu's temperament, she definitely couldn't withstand her provocation, and suicide was within her control. But why? Song Yufan looked at Baizhu, who was being led by a man towards the pool. Why is she still alive? 14. I walked to the other side of the pool, and told Lumini not to follow me anymore. Why? He asked knowingly. I can't be bothered with him. One moment he says he likes me and the next he cancels the engagement. Are you kidding? Are you just toying with me? I'm really not happy about this. Lumini looked at my frustrated face and just smiled. Then I'll step away for a bit. See you later, fiancé. Hee. I kept a straight face and refused to say goodbye to him. I started to appreciate the beautiful men and women playing in the pool, and it seemed like a waiter walked up to me, ready to hand me a drink, but when I reached out, it was empty. I turned my head to see Song Yufan smiling and holding up the only glass of juice on the tray, while the waiter stood by, looking confused. I waved my hand to indicate that it was nothing. After the waiter left, Song Yufan took the initiative to speak. Congratulations, Minnie, he can finally break off the engagement with you. Congratulations to him. I raised an eyebrow and smiled, still unsure who dumped whom. I couldn't be bothered to pay her any attention. Song Yufan looked at me with an expression of frustration, as if I was dismissing her. Her eyes shifted. And she seemed to think of something. Miss Bai. She looked at me gently. I got goosebumps. What? Spit it out if you have something to say. Song Yufan choked a bit. I want to show you something. With tearful eyes, she said. I hope you can understand why Minnie ended the engagement with you. Oh really? Let me guess, is it a close-up photo of the two of them? Or perhaps an intimate conversation? Or is it a misleading edited image? I became interested. Sure, let's go upstairs to talk. Song Yufan didn't expect me to be so straightforward, and was momentarily indecisive. I walked ahead, and, seeing that she was lagging behind, became a bit impatient. Hurry up. Song Yufan's legs went weak, and she gritted her teeth to follow me upstairs. The second floor was not open, so it was quite suitable to talk here. I pushed open the ornate door, and the large floor-to-ceiling windows and fireplace came into view. With heavy snow falling outside, I sat on the single sofa next to the fireplace, leaving no seats in the room for a moment, so Song Yufan could only stand facing me. I lifted my chin. Speak. Song Yufan was about to grind her teeth, her smile stiff as she took out her phone from her bag. Miss Bai, you might as well take a look at this. I lazily answered the call, and as expected, it was a photo of Lumini sleeping on the bed, with her sitting beside the bed taking a selfie. Boring. No novelty. I rolled my eyes and glanced at her. Did you sleep with him? Song Yufan didn't expect my attitude and was momentarily speechless. I shoved her phone back to her, and she stumbled backward from my push. Did you kiss him? Did you sleep with him? Are you two dating? Did he confess to you? A barrage of questions left her dumbfounded, and she could only kneel on the ground, staring blankly at me. I laughed. What makes you think I would go crazy for him? The man you are fawning over just begged me in the car not to cancel the engagement, and wanted me to look at him. I don't like competing with women over men, but watching Song Yufan's pupils constrict was quite satisfying. It felt pretty good. How dare you treat me like this? Do you have no conscience? She was at her wit's end, momentarily screaming in anger. You are suppressing my career. And you want to take him away. Why are you still alive? Didn't you promise to die? I promised you I would die. I keenly caught that sentence. Was that text message sent by you? On the day I entered the book, I woke up and saw a text message on my phone. The content of that message was very simple. It merely told her that Lumini did not love her, or she could try committing suicide to see if Lumini would come. Because it was too non-mainstream youth literature, I chose to selectively ignore it. She trembled her lips and continued to defend herself. That's because you had someone bully me, you framed me. I looked straight at her, but she paid the price. She is dead. She died from her own malice and selfishness, died from her own greed and hypocrisy, and also died from hanging her heart on that indifferent man. She was stunned, slowly raised her head, and stammered, Then who are you? Me? I smiled faintly. I am just a soul that has crossed over, accidentally entering her body. But what harm is there in scaring her a little at this moment? I approached her step by step in high heels, the heavy snow outside the floor-to-ceiling window falling thicker and thicker, a pure white reflection shining on me, the long skirt swaying gracefully with my movements. Me? I leaned close to her ear and whispered. I'm here to take revenge on you, evil spirit. 15. The clock in the castle struck. And I slowly descended the stairs. Song Yufan stood among the crowd, watching the woman who drew everyone's attention, feeling her facial muscles twitch. She wanted to rush forward and tear off this woman's skin, revealing her true nature to everyone. But then she remembered what she had just heard, and thinking of this made her shiver involuntarily. Lumini had been waiting for me at the handrail of the stairs as I approached. He extended his hand and led me to the center of the guests. The lights perfectly illuminated us, and Lumini's face was exceptionally handsome, with more defined facial features. His sword-like eyebrows slanted into his temples, and beneath his strong nose, his lips were pressed into a straight line, appearing resolute and determined. He adjusted the microphone, and his deep, magnetic voice resonated in the castle venue. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for coming here today. I am Lumini. And I am also Baiju's fiancé. Secondly, I sincerely apologize for inviting everyone here. It is to let you all participate in our annulment ceremony. As soon as these words were spoken, the people in the hall began to discuss among themselves. Bai's mother looked at me with concern, and I smiled at her to reassure her, standing tall with no trace of melancholy on my face. Seeing that I was so indifferent, Song Yufan felt even more resentful. Lumini smiled and continued, "This is my fault. At the last engagement ceremony, I was blind and had not yet fallen in love with Miss Baiju, so I did not attend. I am very sorry, as that was a very rude act and extremely unfair to Miss Baiju." He looked at me and said, "I also deeply regret it. Now I have come to appreciate Miss Baiju's charm, and do not wish to miss her again." Many young people in the audience couldn't help but chuckle upon hearing this. And the atmosphere shifted from tense to relaxed and pleasant. Lumini smiled and said, "In accordance with Miss Baiju's wishes, I will annul our engagement. The youngest son of the Jiyu family has always been a mischievous one, and at this moment, he asked in a childish voice from the audience, 'So, will you still get married?' Lumini smiled gently and said, 'That depends on what Sister Baiju thinks.' The audience erupted in laughter. The invited band began to play music at the timely signal from Mother Bai, and amidst the melodious tunes, everyone paired up and stepped onto the dance floor. I held Lumini's hand, and after blending into the crowd, I gently swayed to the rhythm. Feeling his breath surrounding me, I whispered, "Thank you for today." I didn't expect Lumini to take the initiative to withdraw from the engagement. The engagement withdrawal, which would have embarrassed both families, was cleverly resolved, because Lumini took the initiative to bow his head. Not only did it silence the gossip about the Bai family and me, preserving my dignity, but he also did not directly mention that he was pursuing me. Lumini chuckled softly, "Because I am pursuing you." I looked up at him and asked, "Then why does Song Yufan have a photo of you sleeping?" This topic turned unexpectedly, and Lumini was so startled that he stuttered. "Well, that's because I knew at the time that she was going to show it to Baiju, so I didn't." The further he went, the quieter his voice became. He knew he was in the wrong at that time, he just wanted to sit back and watch the fight, but he never expected that one day he would have to admit defeat. "A man who doesn't love himself," I said softly. "It's like a rotten cabbage," he replied in a low voice. Since he made up his mind to pursue her, he had gathered a lot of dating tips online and of course, he also learned about male virtues. HMPH. I lazily glanced at him, just as the dance floor was exchanging partners. I let go of my hand that was resting on him and smoothly started dancing with another gentleman. The gentleman's partner looked at Lumini, but ultimately didn't dare to approach. Lumini also consciously stepped back to the edge of the dance floor, watching me eagerly, as if hoping I would choose him next time. "Let's talk later." I glanced at him. Over here, Song Yufan stood in the corner, watching the two people exchanging glances on the dance floor. The nameless anger in her heart grew stronger, and an evil thought suddenly emerged, bold and daring. "Baiju, I want to see how you will handle this time." She curled her lips. 16. After they talked it out, Lumini also let go. After the banquet, Bai's mother had something to deal with and left first. I had a sudden whim to go shopping. Just as I went downstairs, I saw Lumini. "What are you doing here?" I asked in confusion. "I'm waiting for you." Lumini smiled as he handed me a large bouquet of roses still dripping with water, almost making it difficult for me to catch them. Lumini quickly took it over, looking a bit apologetic. I should have brought fewer flowers. I waved my hand. It's not about the flowers. How did you know I would get up at this time? Lumini opened his mouth, quickly realizing. I didn't know. I didn't investigate you. I just came early. He looked like a fool, clumsy in pursuing someone for the first time. Seeing his anxious expression, I couldn't help but laugh. Why are you so afraid of me? I handed him the bag and said, do you want to go shopping with me? He smiled with his lips pressed together, nodded quickly, and took the bag, hanging it on himself. I shot him a glance. Are you going to carry the flowers while shopping? Lumini asked me helplessly. Should I throw them away? Idiot. I whispered at him, holding the flowers in my arms as I walked towards the grandfather from that day, who was still playing the cello near the hotel. He was a Frenchman. I had learned French in my previous life, and at this moment, I was conversing with him, while Lumini looked a bit surprised beside me. What did he say to you? He asked me. Nothing much, just thanking me. I shrugged, pretending to be casual. Lumini chuckled quietly. He had also learned French, and understood that he was clearly asking who the man beside her was, whether he was her boyfriend. Baiju said no, he was a man pursuing her. The grandfather smiled and said it was to wish him success in his pursuit. How cute, he thought to himself. Do you feel embarrassed carrying my bag? I changed the subject. Not at all, he obediently shook his head. I'm very happy to help you carry your bag. This guy. Lumini always says very flirtatious things, with a very innocent look in his eyes. I looked around aimlessly and casually pointed to a store. Let's go check that out. Okay. He nodded. Next, it was just me buying and buying, while he kept swiping his card. I wanted to pay myself, but Lumini insisted that he was pursuing me, so I let him do it. After all, I thought, I could afford it. I stopped when passing by a pet store. Do you want to get a dog? He asked as he saw me staring at the display window. I nodded. I want to have one. Lumini smiled. If you want to get a dog, I can teach you. Do you know everything? I looked at him, and he pretended to ponder, then smiled at me. Pretty much. I've learned a lot of complicated knowledge. You can ask me anything. There are definitely things I don't know, and I can go learn. I teased him. Anything can be asked. You can ask anything. Do you like dad or mom? I asked him mischievously. I thought he would laugh helplessly, but he really started to think seriously. As time passed, I felt a bit uneasy and tugged at his sleeve. Are you unwilling to say? If you don't want to, that's fine. He shook his head, looking a bit troubled. I don't like dad, and I don't like mom either. I was taken aback from my experience reading novels. The male lead's family is usually not very happy. Sure enough, Lumini explained to me. I have a half-brother who bullies me. I was weak as a child and couldn't fight back. Dad favored my brother more, and mom also committed suicide, so I don't like dad or mom. Speculation is one thing, hearing it is another. Seeing his indifferent expression, I felt a bit uncomfortable. He comforted me, but I fought back against him. When I grew up. Fool. Then you need to work hard on your fitness. And you'll be able to beat anyone in the future, I replied, following his lead. He nodded sincerely, as if he were going to go home and write it down in his diary with great seriousness. I held back a laugh and said, then you should go work out right now. Lumini panicked. Are you annoyed with me? I shook my head and pretended to be innocent, saying, no, but it's more important for you to get stronger now. Only by getting stronger can you beat those little losers. After saying that, I even made a punching gesture. Lumini looked at me with his wet eyes, as if he were anxious about how to prove to me that he was strong. He didn't want to leave. I felt my heart soften under his gaze, and I sighed as I took the initiative to hug him. His body stiffened for a moment, but then he slowly relaxed in my embrace. He knew I was joking. He said gloomily, I don't want to beat the little losers I can beat. Even if I can't win. I don't want to exercise. I just want to be with you. 17. The warm breath by my ear makes my heart race like a drum, and the little person in my heart is shouting and running. What should I do? He is really so cute. Like a golden retriever, the way he wags his tail when he sees me is also so cute. I was about to say something while holding him, when Lumini's phone rang. Answer the phone quickly. The ringtone had been ringing for too long, and I couldn't help but say. He didn't speak, still resting his chin on my shoulder, as if not answering the phone meant it hadn't rung at all. I sighed and, go ahead and answer it. Just calm down. If this continues, I might develop a love-struck brain. I pretended to be too hot, constantly fanning my face to cool down. Lumini answered with dissatisfaction. I watched as his expression changed from relaxed to heavy, and when he hung up the phone, he was still staring blankly at the ground. What's wrong? My dad, he passed away, he replied in a daze. Lou's father had long been in critical condition. When Bai's mother sent the invitation, she said that Lou's parents did not dare to respond, but there was also the reason that Lou's father could no longer make decisions. I made the decision for him. Then you should go home and handle it quickly. But he hesitated. I curved my lips and hugged him again. Let's make another appointment next time, I will be back home soon. Lumini was silent for a while before finally making a decision. I'll come find you after I finish handling things at home. I nodded. I will message you while I'm away. He looked at me as if requesting, I'm still pursuing you. Okay, I'll wait for your message. I felt a bit like laughing. It wasn't a life and death separation. Lumini lowered his head. Still not very happy. I'll help you take the things you brought back to the hotel first. Okay. I walked back to the hotel with him. I couldn't tell if he was sad after all. His father treated him that way, but he was still his dad. Lumini helped me put my things back at the hotel, and hugged me when we came out. I'm not sad, he said while holding me. Really? I was afraid he was lying to me. He nodded, then remembered that I couldn't see. I only get sad for those who are good to me. If he is not good to me, I have no feelings for him. He looked at me again. I only care about you. But I'm not good to you, I said with a forced smile. Okay, you gave me pancakes. You also saved me, pulling me out of the mud. I felt embarrassed, not expecting that the pancakes were the beginning of his infatuation with me. Then you should go quickly, I urged him, thinking that I should treat him better in the future. We both arrived at the airport. And just before leaving, he stopped again. What are you doing? I was a bit anxious. He didn't seem worried at all about missing the flight. I'm still pursuing you, he emphasized. I nodded randomly. Can I still accompany you shopping in the future? He asked me, as if going shopping with me was a blessing from heaven. I inexplicably felt my eyes redden and nodded, yes, I'll let you accompany me shopping in the future. Lumini smiled and said, okay, wait for me to come back. We parted ways like this. I thought we would meet again soon, but we didn't. On the first day he left, he sent me messages about his mundane daily life. There were so many that I found them too long, and didn't want to read. After that, there were no more messages. I wonder if he had an accident. Is his phone broken? But there wasn't. I checked the news and asked his assistant, and they all said there was none. Until 3 months later. A Weibo headline went viral and topped the trending list, titled, "The heir of the Liu family is engaged to the internet celebrity writer-song Yufan." 18. During these 3 months, I gradually regained my calm. He is just a man after all. I am grateful that I have not fallen in love with him yet. Just a little, Baiju, just a little, and soon this pitiful love will fade away. I thought this way, but when I saw that Weibo post, I still felt upset. I seemed to not be as clear-headed as I imagined. I looked at that Weibo post and thought. But I will still move forward. In these 3 months, I have done many things I had never done before. I went bungee jumping, skydiving, traveled to the desert, and even learned to dive. At first, I thought I would have Lumini accompany me in the future, but after seeing that Weibo post, I never thought that way again. To ease the worries of the Bai family, I took the initiative to take on the modeling work that the villainess had done before. Thanks to this body being naturally suited for modeling, I also have a strong interest in this job, and it didn't take long for me to adapt to the life of shooting. Today is the day to shoot a poster for a brand. I walked to the venue and, upon reaching the entrance of a hotel, realized that all the cars parked by the roadside were luxury vehicles. What kind of family is this? Why didn't they invite our family to the celebration? I was wondering which social class had no connection with my family. As I looked around, I then saw the face of Song Yufan, blocked by a car. Pa. Unlucky. Thanks to my good manners, I didn't spit on the ground, but instead cursed them in my heart. When I arrived at the shooting site, I was still quite angry. The assistant, seeing me like this for the first time, was a bit hesitant to speak, and the atmosphere on set lost its laughter, causing the shooting progress to speed up. It was only then that I realized, and I quickly apologized to them, offering to treat them to dinner and milk tea. But you can't order milk tea at a hot pot restaurant, the assistant reminded me. Then let's just order it here, I replied casually. Only after saying that did I realize that everyone had finished their work. Were they really going to wait for takeout here? After pondering for a moment, I said, you all can go ahead, I'll wait here for the takeout and bring it to you when it arrives. Is that really okay? The assistant said politely. I called him out. Stop pretending, you've already taken out the car keys. The little assistant saw that he was acting poorly, chuckled foolishly, and then handed me the car keys. Sister, you can drive my car over later. Sorry for the trouble. I helplessly took the keys and then said goodbye to them. It was only when the filming location was empty that I felt a void in my heart. I scrolled through my phone, and it was flooded with videos of Song Yufan and his engagement. Many influencers were invited to the event, so a lot of people posted videos from the scene. I rolled my eyes and put my phone away, not wanting to look anymore. I heard a knocking sound outside the door and shouted, just leave it outside. As a somewhat well-known model, I was afraid of being asked for autographs when I went out. Who would have thought that the delivery person was so persistent, knocking endlessly? I sighed and got up to open the door. Just as I was about to take a big bag of milk tea and leave, a deep, magnetic voice came from above. Isn't it too heavy? I looked up and met the gaze of the man in front of me. His eyes were filled with laughter. And they were full of my reflection. I'm back, Lumini said softly. 19. I slammed the door shut. The sound was too loud, so loud that my hand felt numb after closing the door. The man outside fell silent, seemingly startled by the noise. I shook my hand and sat on the sofa to calm down. I poured myself a glass of iced milk tea, but after finishing it, I still felt unsettled, so I had another glass. Lumini was speaking softly outside. Baiju, can you let me in, please? I coldly looked at the large cup of milk tea on the table, picked up the bag, opened the door, and walked straight to the car, passing by the stunned Lumini. He saw my car, and his eyes darkened, but before he could say anything, I zoomed away, leaving Lumini to chase after me. The filming location was in the city, and I couldn't speed, which meant that although we were one in front and the other behind, we were both driving slowly. It's really frustrating. I stepped on the gas and drove all the way to the hot pot restaurant. The hot pot restaurant had been reserved long ago, and the assistant and filming crew had already gone in. After I entered, the waitress asked which private room I was in, and after I answered, she led me there. As for Lumini, I caught a glimpse of him hurriedly following me and then getting stopped. Heh! When the assistant and staff saw me carrying the milk tea, they couldn't help but cheer. I smiled and began to distribute the milk tea to everyone. Why didn't I get one? The little assistant said, a bit aggrieved. Sorry, I drank it, I said softly, casually transferring him 500 yuan, and the little assistant immediately cheered up again. I finished this meal without tasting it, and everyone thanked me. I waved goodbye to them. Sister, do you want to take my car? The assistant honked the horn, inviting me. I was about to wave him off when I saw Lumini squatting in the corner of the parking lot, looking wronged as he stared at me. Let's go. I quickly grabbed the car door. Ah? Oh, okay, the assistant was surprised. Isn't sister someone who likes to walk home at night? You can't leave. Lumini rushed over and grabbed my hand without me noticing. I shot him a glance, and he looked at me anxiously, but still held my hand tightly. Sister, the assistant was dumbfounded. Isn't this the young master of the Lu family? Why is he coming to find sister right after getting engaged? I couldn't be bothered to explain, so I waved him off and told him to go ahead. There were only the two of us in the parking lot. I crossed my arms and looked at him. Go ahead. Lumini looked at me sadly. I am not engaged to Song Yufan. It was my brother who was engaged to Song Yufan. 20. On the day Lumini returned to the country, he first went back to the old house to attend Mr. Lu's funeral. At the funeral, he saw Song Yufan. He originally planned to leave directly after attending, but Song Yufan stopped him. Mini, do you want to take a look at these? What is it? Her selfie from the day he fell asleep. He had a bit of a headache at that time. He really wasn't thinking straight, which allowed Song Yufan to have leverage over him. But no, it's a photo of Baizhu. There are photos of Baizhu bullying others in here. She burned people with cigarette butts, kidnapped girls, and even did worse things. Lumini's gaze gradually turned cold. He understood Song Yufan's thoughts. He wanted to ruin Baizhu's reputation. What do you want? Money. Power, he asked. Song Yufan smiled gently. I don't want those. Lumini smiled, curling his lips, and deliberately took a roundabout way. Do you want to be the fiancé of the Lu family's young master? Outsiders do not know that the Lu family has an illegitimate son. They only know the Lu family's only son, Lumini. Song Yufan shyly nodded. Lumini agreed. Who said that the heir of the Lu family is him? From today on, he will let his brother become the heir of the Lu family. Then why haven't you replied to my messages for 3 months? My tone was still stiff, but my heart softened halfway. It turned out there was a reason for it. Lumini hesitated, and I immediately hardened my heart again. I slapped him, and before I could say anything, I saw Lumini biting his teeth and frowning while covering the place I slapped. I quickly pushed aside his clothes, and Lumini's cheeks turned red rapidly. He looked around, still afraid of others coming. I swatted away his obstructive hand, revealing a large area of bandages in front of me. Did she hurt you? I stared at him in shock. Lumini hurriedly wiped away the tears on my face with his fingertip. It doesn't hurt. My tears fell in big drops. How did she hurt you? Lumini stammered. She stabbed me. He didn't say anything. At that time, they were driving, and Lumini was contemplating how to destroy those photos, after bringing her to the old house, when Song Yufan suddenly stabbed him from behind without warning. This stab hit his chest, causing him to lose control of the car, and crash into the barriers on both sides of the road. Immediately after, he fell into a coma for more than 2 months. 2 weeks ago, he slowly regained consciousness, but he couldn't tell Baizhu because Song Yufan woke up first and conspired with his brother to kill him. He could only pretend to be in a coma until today, when he saw the Weibo headlines and realized that Song Yufan wanted to take the initiative. In order to avoid misunderstanding Baizhu, he ran over here. Thinking of this, Lumini held the person in his arms tightly. Are you still mad at me? I cried uncontrollably, my tears soaking the fabric on his chest. I'm still mad, I said through my tears. What should we do? Lumini said anxiously, holding me helplessly. I stood up straight from his embrace, using his cuff to wipe my tears dry. I want to make Song Yufan pay the price. Lumini quickly replied, he has already paid the price, a very high price. He took out his phone to show me a picture of Song Yufan and his brother being taken away by the police. I stared at him in a daze, and he smiled at me, saying, I started collecting evidence as soon as I woke up. Many of the guests at today's engagement party were actually undercover police, and they were arrested after the engagement ended. I didn't expect that. There are police in the world of the novel. I blankly let my nose run. Lumini took a handkerchief out of his pocket and comforted me, saying, please don't cry, okay? I'm sorry, this is my fault, and I will acknowledge my mistakes. There's no right or wrong in this matter, I thought while he wiped my nose. So can you forgive me? He looked at me nervously. Let's talk about it later. The misunderstanding was cleared up, but my tone remained cold. I climbed into the car and saw that Lumini was still there, lost in thought. Hurry up and go. I was in his car, how could I leave if he didn't drive? Lumini self-deprecatingly curled the corner of his mouth. Do you have a boyfriend? Or is it a May-December romance? He calls you sister. You're still driving his car, and driving it quite fast. I looked at him with a dumbfounded expression. That's my assistant Im just driving his car to deliver milk tea for everyone today. Lumini was at a loss for words. Silently getting into the car, starting the engine, and heading to my house. When we arrived at my doorstep, I swiftly opened the car door, and seeing this, Lumini also started the engine. Hey! I shot him a sideways glance. Lumini is most afraid of me glaring at him, and he immediately froze, raising his hand and looking at me pitifully. Do you have nothing to ask? I raised my chin. I do, but I have already asked, and you didn't agree. He shook his head silently. Sigh. I sighed and said, come to my place early tomorrow morning. Lumini looked at me in confusion. I raised an eyebrow and said, accompany me to go shopping. The man in front of me did not answer, just staring blankly at me. You don't want to? I glared at him. At this moment, he realized, smiling in a worthless manner, and nodded, I am willing. I was finally satisfied and ready to go back. Bijou. I turned around and felt his lips gently kiss my forehead. Good night. Extra. 01. 3 years after marrying Lumini, I became pregnant. This was not an accident, it was within my expectations, because I had made a hole in the condom. When I got up early to tell him about it, Lumini was so shocked that he fell off his chair at the dining table. I was not surprised, because he reacted the same way when I proposed to him. Lumini frowned and murmured, how could this happen? How could this happen? I looked at him, raising an eyebrow. Contraception isn't 100 effective, you know. Lumini looked at me with concern. Are you okay then? How's your body? What about mentally? Is there any pressure? I shook my head. I'm eating well. Only then did Lumini breathe a sigh of relief. We finished breakfast in silence, and when I swallowed the last bite of my bun, I said, Lumini, you really don't have to be so afraid of me leaving. He stared at me in a daze, licking his lips. I knew everything. He was afraid of me leaving. Since the day we started dating, he would tell me I love you every morning and night, but he didn't dare to say anything to keep me from leaving when I was on a business trip. He gave me everything he had, yet he didn't dare to propose to me. Even the confession was initiated by me. I held my face and looked at him, raising the corners of my lips. Do you see me as a fairy? Are you afraid that one day I will fly back to heaven and leave you? Lumini looked at me and finally nodded silently. My eyes turned red at that moment. I walked over and gently hugged him. You have me. You and I will have a child together. We will be together forever. On that morning, the vine and the rose expressed all their feelings, and from then on, the vine had a home. 02. Lumini hated Bijou when he was young. Even when he had no one to play with, he didn't like playing with Bijou. Bijou always broke his toys, pulled him to prevent him from leaving, or pretended to cry in front of their parents, forcing him to play with her. On that day, Baiju broke his telescope. Little Lumini silently looked at the shards on the ground, while little Baiju arrogantly said, "Let's play house together." Little Lumini did not refuse, because he knew that even if he refused, Baiju would cry and go to find her parents, and in the end, his parents would give him a beating. He still wanted to play with Baiju. But he had a rebellious heart. "Brother Lumini, you be the prince, I'll be the princess, you have to come and save me." Little Baiju cheerfully handed him the Ken doll, keeping the Barbie for herself. Lumini pretended to be deaf and mute, showing no reaction. Lumini's wooden behavior finally angered Baiju, and she kept screaming until Lumini's ears hurt. Then Baiju pounced on him and scratched him with her long nails. When Baiju was finally taken away by her parents, she looked back at him and smiled. Lumini knew that this meant she wouldn't let him off tomorrow. His parents are still arguing at home. He irritably closed the door and took out his diary from under the bed. "I don't want to save the princess, why doesn't the princess save me?" The crooked characters are written above. Years later, Lumini showed me his diary. I laughed foolishly with him. "In the end, you still have to marry me, Baiju." Lumini kissed my lips, I'm willing. It seems he has fulfilled his childhood wish, he thought, looking at the woman in front of him who was laughing so hard she was about to fall over. His princess ultimately came to save him.